Coffeyville for this Tuesday, December 22nd, 2015 meeting. Tonight's invocation will be given by Dean McNamara, First Baptist Church. After the invocation, please remain standing so we can say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this meeting at the end of the year on the most special week of all. And Lord, we pray that there will be peace on earth, beginning right here tonight in this meeting, but especially through our city, through southeast Kansas and around our country, and Lord, in our world, we pray for peace. Lord, may we embrace the one who we celebrate on Friday was born the Prince of Peace. And we pray this in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Consent agenda items, regular city commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, December 8th, 2015. 2000 appropriation ordinance number AO-15-23 in the amount of $4,767,857.36. And resolution number 15-162, resolution to declare the city of Coffeyville boundaries. And resolution number 15-163, a resolution to ratify expenses for repair for City Hall elevator. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments about the consent agenda items? Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Who seconded that? Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Castler to approve the consent agenda as presented. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye. Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
2015 appropriation ordinance number AO-15-23A, check in the amount of $726.44 to Taylor Crane. Does anybody have any questions about this?
None.
Move to approve that appropriation ordinance.
Second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Powell to approve appropriation ordinance number AO-15-23A. Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Abstain.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Public hearing and special proclamations. This evening we have a public hearing on the fiscal year 2015 budget amendments. Finance Director Stephanie Richardson will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, it's the time of year that we come back and look at our 2015 budget and make any budget amendments that we need before year end. We did have 6 funds in total that we're proposing a budget amendment for. I'll go through each one of those. The first one is the Economic Development Fund. During 2014, the Commission approved a transfer of $2.3 million of one-time funds back to the Economic Development Fund. We've also approved some loans and incentive payments, as well as some, one of those was Yates Clothing. We had some work done engineering-wise on the Acme expansion, those type of things, and this budget amendment provides for the spending authority for some of those funds for those purposes. The Police VIN Fund, when we did set the budget in August of 2014, there wasn't any planned equipment purchases in that fund. That one is purely funded through vehicle checks done by the police department. Those funds are used for police purposes. They did have some equipment needs throughout the year. Some storage arrays were needed and a replacement generator for the communication tower, as well as an SOT digital mobile repeater that the chief brought to the commission for approval. This budget amendment will allow for spending authority for those items. The airport fund, when we went through the budget this summer, we discussed the need for a new piece of equipment at the airport. We traded in one of the old John Deere tractors and purchased a John Deere Gator XUV for use on the runways. And the budget that's presented tonight is that's identical to what we talked about this summer when we did the amendment. The Internet Utility Fund, that's another one that we did some equipment upgrades for the rural wireless customers. We also purchased materials and some equipment for installing service to the college here in town. And this one, again, is identical to what we talked about this summer. The Electric Debt Service Fund, we issued debt for the new generation project this year. When we did that, and when we set the budget in 2014, we weren't aware of all the details that would be involved in this, so this budget amendment allows for the expenditures that we had associated with that debt issue this year. And lastly, the Water and Wastewater Utility Fund. This budget amendment is for reinstating one of the employee positions that had been cut when the budget was originally approved in 2014. We've also had some expenditures with our water treatment process that we've increased our chemical expenditures this year to help with the treatment of the water. And this one too is presented the same as what it was that we talked about during the summer. We do need to go ahead and hold a public hearing so anyone can make any comments that they would have regarding the amendments. We did publish this in the newspaper as required on December the 12th, meeting the 10-day requirement for state statute, and this will need to be delivered to the county by December 31st. So if you'd like to go ahead and hold the public hearing, I can answer any questions that you'd have as well.
Public hearing for the 2015 budget amendments is now open. Any person wishing to speak in reference to the budget amendments, please step forward. Hearing's closed.
Are you armed? Jim Faulkner, 1014 West 3rd. Stephanie, could you read that on the police fund again? I think you said police checks. Did I hear that correctly, or am I?
The vehicle identification checks that the police department does.
And what you said, use the phrase like police checks?
It's the vehicle identification checks that they do. They check the vehicle, run the number. Anyone want to explain?
Inspection?
It's an
Okay.
inspection.
When you buy a car out of state, you bring it to Kansas, you have
Okay, that's the fees that are collected
There
when
you
the
go.
police do
Yes.
those checks across the street. Thank you.
Any additional comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll close the hearing now for the 2015 budget amendments. Commissioners? Motion.
I'll move to approve Resolution R-15-164 for adoption.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Powell and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-15-164 for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Public hearing for the creation of the Community Improvement District for the Nile Hotel. Sarah Steele, Gilmore, and Bell will make comments.
Tricia Purdon, I wanted to start with some comments Sarah requested I provide some clarification based on the last commission meeting before she goes through the detail of the presentation. Just a clarification of what the CID is. It was established by Kathleen Sebelius when she was governor in 2009. Therefore, 2 local hotels were not eligible for that program when it was first established, or 2 newer hotels. It is to help. It is really specifically to help those really in rural districts, although it's frequently used in metropolitan areas also, but it provides that extra help to cover the infrastructure costs, the building costs, to put up a new facility like a hotel or any retail development for that matter. We are going to be doing a pay-as-you-go financing option, so the city would not be putting any money up front for this business as they are developing the building. as the sales tax rolls in, it would then reimburse those costs. It is only a 2% additional sales tax that's going to be passed on to customers shopping in that district, which in this case is only the Holiday Inn. Based on comments from the commission last time, we added some language to make sure, or we would request to add some language that a statement would be put on the door of that hotel stating that that 2% fee does exist, so there's no surprises when they walk in to confirm their hotel room. We also wanted to make sure that the city didn't absorb additional fees in the processing of the CID, transferring the funds, evaluating the funds, submitting everything to the IRS and KDOR. So we did add that 5% of the CID benefits come back to the city to pay for those administrative costs. One point also that I wanted to make that probably wasn't quite clear based on some of the feedback I've received, at least the last couple weeks. This fee is only to cover the cost for this project, so $6.2 million. If the CID generates more than $6.2 million, fantastic, which means we're generating lots of regular sales tax. The other 9.3% the city is receiving. That money would then no longer go to Holiday Inn. It would come back to the city, and we could use it for any other development until that 20-year term expires. I think there was some confusion on that. In addition, if we have a new business that comes in and they separate the parcel, they can divide off from the CID if they don't want to participate in that, if we get a new restaurant or something along those lines. In comparison with other hotel incentives that have been offered in the past from the city, this project really came to the city of Coffeyville. It wasn't an outright recruitment. So they did pay the full real estate value of the land to the city. They paid the full price for that city, whereas Bricktown Lodge received that land as an incentive. So there's a big difference there. They're also receiving a reduced number of years for their property tax abatement, whereas the other two hotels received the full 10 years. In addition, this hotel would also likely have a higher room rate than the other two newer hotels. That was also a question that was brought up in the time between the last commission meeting and now. So we wanted to make sure that you understood that this hotel, although they are new, they would be a different level of competitor with the two other local hotels that are in, or will be in comparison with this one. So with that, I will leave it with Sarah Steele. She'll go through any details that you might have on the actual legal side of the CID, but I'd be more than happy to answer any other questions you might have that I could answer.
To be fair, there is quite a difference between the pay range, the price range of a Holiday Inn Express with what we have now, correct? So really, they're not cheating anybody out of.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you go Johnson County and go with a Best Western versus a Holiday Inn, the price is typically quite significant. Usually a Holiday Inn's a 3.5 star, Best Western might be a 2 to 3 star. So they're going to be recruiting a different clientele maybe than our current hotels get. Ideally, that would be some of our new traffic coming in for new retail to the casino. Some of that traffic would be ideal for this hotel.
And this isn't your average Holiday Inn. There's more to it. You told me it was a what edition?
Right, this is their new Sapphire edition. It's a Holiday Inn Express, but it's their newest version of that hotel that they have. So it'll be kind of something that no one else, I think there might be one that's in the process of being built in Florida, and that's it. So we'll be the first one pretty much in the country to be seen, especially if construction goes as planned. So that'll be kind of nice to have in Coffeyville.
Very
Any
nice,
questions for me?
very nice.
Okay. I'll let Sarah Steele take it from here then.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Steele with Gilmore and Bell. We're bond counsel to the city. The action that you are being asked to conduct tonight is twofold. One is that a requirement of statute is that you hold a public hearing, so we'll need you to convene that and take any public comment on the creation of a community improvement district for this particular project. Once that's concluded, then we'll go to first reading of an ordinance, and if I may, speak to that at that time, that might be easier. I might also add that Kyle Groves from the hotel is here, just got here. If you do have any questions of him, either now or during the public hearing or later.
I'll now open the public hearing for the creation of the Community Improvement District for the new hotel in Coffeyville. Any comments or questions need to be addressed at the podium, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any questions of, you had some additional comments that you wanted to make, I'm sorry.
Just wanted to make a quick comment on the ordinance that you're being asked to approve on first reading. Obviously, there'll be a second reading at your first meeting in January. And this ordinance does incorporate approval of a development agreement that includes the provisions that Tricia mentioned, a 5% administrative fee to the city, which is 5% of the collections under the CID, to cover the administration that the city will have to do. And, you know, from that may be significant from time to time. So 5% is the maximum allowed by law. It's consistent with what the city of Wichita and other larger cities in the state have been doing. The other item that is now in there in the development agreement is signage required for posting that this is a community improvement district and that there is a collection of 2% additional sales tax. Be happy to answer any other questions regarding the ordinance.
I don't have any.
I have none.
Thank you, Sarah.
Go ahead with the motion.
I move to approve ordinance S1601 for first reading.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Powell and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve ordinance number S-16-01 for first reading. Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
No.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye. Comments from the public. This is the time the public can come forward and speak to the commission to address any issues that you have. We ask that you keep your comments basically public, able to be spoken public, and keep them limited as other folks may want to speak behind you. Mr. Taylor.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Jim C. Taylor, Sr. I live at 704 Spruce in Coffeyville. I've prepared a written statement that I would like to have read tonight, but I have difficulty in those things, sobbing and crying when I get emotionally involved. So I've written it, I've given it to the first responders, who've been a very important part of my life and most of our citizens for the last few years. I've given it to you commissioners, and I've given it to the first responders. I'm going to share it on my website. I'm going to share it in my emails. And if I could find somebody kind enough to read that could read it in this meeting, it won't take 3 minutes. But I wouldn't be able to make it through it. Thank you.
Jim, you want to read it?
I'll read it for you, Dad. Thank you. I just got handed this. I hadn't read it yet. I'm presenting this sharing of my thoughts with you in this written note. I would be perfectly happy sharing it with you in face-to-face conversation. My love and praise for many of you who have been part of many emergencies experienced by my family is not surpassed by anyone, but is present with the entire community. What a comfort it has been to have your immediate assistance through our family members, heart attacks, falls, final issues, trips to the hospitals, etc. We all want you, as our special services people, to have the best state-of-the-art equipment and facilities you need. Our citizens know, without your mass presence at our commission meetings, that we owe you the investment in the best safety and comfort we can afford. Our mayor, as a first responder, himself carries an extra burden of weighing his responsibility not only to his fraternal first responder partners, but equally so to the others in our community. Would you please join many citizens who are not present, but who also are affected by the Commission's decisions in asking our commissioners to man up, tell us the truth, and then make sure next meeting's truth matches last meeting's truth. Jim C. Taylor, Jr. And then it says, presently the oldest surviving Jim Taylor in the James O. family. Some of you guys know we lost Grandpa, and that's probably why Dad's a little emotional, but he just lost his father, my grandfather, recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Additional comments from the public?
Charles Weed, 207 West New. One of our bones of contention in the city is the city hall reconstruction, this, that, and the other, and the people are talking about money. Now, I know that dog's been running around loose. We need to cage him and have an item in the paper listing what money we've actually got available for that, what's been, the whole timeline, money's brought in and money's spent. So the people can say, well, yeah, we've got this here and this here and this here. Because I know there was a sales tax addendum that was supposed to be paying for all this. But then money was drug in from here, and it was tossed out over there, and it was squirreled away over yonder. And we just like to know exactly what money went where on this. Like I say, just a quarter page on a newspaper or something like that, just where it's all lined out in plain English. It would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. I think that's a great idea. What can we do on that, Stephanie or staff? I think that's a good idea.
We have a detailed spreadsheet of all the expenditures per building and facility, and we
Is
can
it
make
on the
that.
website?
I don't believe that we have put it on the website. I believe we have presented it to the commission, but we could easily do so.
Right. Well, maybe we ought to put it on the website and put a copy in the paper. Maybe that'd be a good idea.
Okay.
Additional comments from the public?
I'm Max Williams, 3408 West First Street, Coffeyville, Kansas. Some people say I might not have a dog in this fight, but as I understand, all this controversy with remodeling and builds all going to be done with sales tax, which makes me a part of it because I spend the biggest part of my money in Coffeyville. I'm having a little trouble with the delay. We got a police department and a snack bar at the hospital. You got a fire department that's deplorable where they are, people. Why can't we move? Why don't we put on our man pants and get to going with this thing? You hired a city manager, you asked him to make you a proposal. He made a great proposal, I feel like. He explained it all, where the money's going, where it's coming, what we got to do. You formed a committee for recommendations. They come back with a recommendation, said, let's build new. And then you ignore them. How are you going to get people to volunteer if you do that? It's just a shame, people. Those people deserve a lot better than what you're giving them right now. As Jim said, I mean, they're our first responders, and they've done a great job, and I'm sure they'll continue under these severe handicaps they have. But let's move on. Let's get it. How long's this thing drug on? It's longer than fixing the railroad tracks.
2 years.
I mean,
Max, I'd like to respond. You bring up some good questions. It's been difficult in the city of Coffeyville. As you know, I worked on the panel, and as you know, I was one out of the 7 that had one opinion, and the other ones had another opinion. And you saw my article I passed out. I passed several of these out, and it is a difficult decision. As you know, the citizens of Coffeyville voted to put some money in a remodel, and we got out of the building. And next thing you know, I'm hearing we're going to spend $8 million on the building, and I slammed that. As everybody in this room knows, including you probably, but I want to address your answers. You know, I wanted to see what we could do to make this old house something again, okay? And we slammed it. This brought up a new issue. Well, a new fire and police is cheaper, and we've been going, you know, through our budget with the city. We had to raise the mill levy, and we've got some unexpected expenses lately, and the revenues are down. And if revenues were up, we probably wouldn't be dragging our feet.
That's the future. I know you can't look at the crest, but this revenue's going down, zero growth. I don't even know what zero growth is, or negative growth. But you know, if you don't have faith in your city, guys, that's what you're up here for. Take a little pride in your city. Let's get them moving.
I think if we had faith, we already have some stuff done. But if nobody up here has made the man-pants suggestion that you have, we would have been going. So clearly, there's some apprehension, and maybe we're more concerned about what's going to happen 10 years from now as opposed to what feels good right at the moment. I'd like to have a new house. I got to save up a little bit for it. So when my lack of action isn't no action, it's I want to make sure I do the right thing. I don't want to be the commission like the ones that got rid of downtown or built a stadium. You know?
I understand, and I think everybody appreciates that. But
some of these
you can
things-
mull it over so long.
Well,
I'm not the only one.
And everybody keeps talking negative. You know, I remember in the 70s, we had a Halliburton plant that had 650 people, and all of a sudden they're gone. Funk Manufacturing went from 1,100 to 300. We survived that. And it isn't going to be easy.
Well, we are working on it. We're going to be talking about it tonight. It's on the agenda to talk about tonight. Some of these things I wanted to say anyway, but means you came up, it's coming out. But it's been a real struggle, this whole situation. And I think a lot of small communities, this article right here, down here, I got it started, said, that was not an easy decision, okay? I mean, here it is in the Tulsa World a week ago, okay? It wasn't an easy decision. And Coffeyville is, in my opinion, got some financial issues. I'm not a financial person, but I've looked over the budget. I've got an accountant to look over with me, and it's the money that's driving the whole thing.
I understand that.
And
but who do you believe? I was here when Kendall made the presentation. It looked like a good presentation to me. Are you saying them numbers are no good?
I disagree with his numbers. He's got a flat line at the best, and I feel like it's going to go down a little bit. I feel like the revenues are going down, and everybody knows I, for one, want to see the city hall done first, okay? And I know we're going to be voting on some things tonight, but I'm about the old buildings, okay? I mean, and I haven't really focused on the new fire, and we've had some. You know, we're not all on the same page here. We've got 2 or 3 one way and 2 or 3 the other, whatever it is. And to answer your question and your concerns, we are struggling a little bit. There's been a lot of talk about this group right here. We are struggling. If it was up to one guy, he'd make that decision, move on. But we are trying to, with the loss of the businesses we've had, with those losses and the decline in our revenues, I'm concerned about it.
If you got that concerned, you may not want to do anything yet.
Well, we're going to be talking about it tonight.
And I think that would be terrible.
Well, we're going to be talking about it tonight.
Jim, the difference between this building right here and that building is I guarantee you this was maintained a lot better throughout the years probably. It probably doesn't have busted out old pipes and iron pipes and and the stripping down from the ceiling. That's the difference. I don't think this is even in the same ballpark as what we got going on.
Let's debate amongst ourselves after we have all.
Well, I'm just going to state some
Okay.
facts.
Anyhow, thank you. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you, Max.
Just one quick question. Again, Jim Faulkner, 1014 West 3rd. Stephanie, if between now and the time that the discussion item comes up on the agenda towards the end of the meeting, could you put together and tell us what the soft costs are that are associated with this project? In other words, what money is being spent out of the tax money that's being collected now that was previously designated as legitimate cost of the move, that were designated as soft costs? How much is that on a quarterly basis? Because this is dragging on. It's going to be another 3 months or another 3 months. It's going to drag on. And we need to know how much money is it costing us right now on a quarterly basis to keep on delaying.
I have that.
And that money is coming out of the sales tax money that's being collected and will not be available for the main project later on.
I have that part of it. And we'll be discussing that when we discuss the project later on in the meeting. Any additional comments from the public?
Good evening. Walt Songer, 1320 West 3rd, Coffeyville, Kansas. I feel the same way the other gentlemen feel around here. We've been dragging this on too long. We have police in a snack bar doing a duty. We have no jail. We have nothing. We have to transport all our prisoners to the county. That's not right. We're losing tax money because all our young people's leaving this town because there's nothing for them here. Have anybody asked the police around here what they want, the fire department? No.
No, I have. I've talked to him.
Really?
Yes, yes. We've been talking to him, Walt.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, you know, we're dragging the same dog sled. Let's take the money that we voted on and build a new building. You guys sent out the cards. We voted on it. We want it done. We are taxpayers.
What are you looking at me all the time for?
Well, I got to do something or it's going to get nasty.
We want to hear you. We want to hear from everybody.
You know, I'm a taxpayer. Everybody in this room's a taxpayer. We want what's best for our town. And we're $3 million in a hole already, and we don't have nothing to show for it. But a tore-out building sitting over here that nobody can use.
Well, we're going to be talking about that in a little bit.
Well, a little bit. It's always a little bit.
Well, we're going to talk about it tonight. It's on the agenda, is it not, Mayor?
Yep, it's on the agenda, Jim.
You know, we need to get something done. Thank you.
Thank you, Walt.
Thank you, Walt.
I'm almost afraid to ask. Any other additional comments from the public? We're going to have a discussion and some action on this building issue later on in the meeting. If you didn't approach the commission and address your concerns, and you have concerns about the, you want to say something about the building project or something along that line, we'll take those comments later on during the meeting. Moving on to new business, resolution number R-15165, a resolution to execute an engineering services agreement with professional engineering consultants. Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight I bring before you an on-call engineering service agreement with PEC, Professional Engineering Consultants. They are the local or main location that we deal with would be Pittsburgh. The city of Coffeyville actually has 3 of these agreements that we use fairly regularly. Basically, this agreement allows us, if we have any sort of engineering questions, you know, we have an emergency project needs done, something that can't take the month to month and a half that some of the RFQ processes take. We can do an on-call. We can pick the best out of this would be the fourth, best engineering group out of them for the project, and they can get started right away versus, like I said, taking up to 2 months, could take up to 2 months for RFQ processes. This agreement, just like the others, it's not binding. Can't remember the word. It is.
Can I have just a second? Kendall, I've gotten 3 messages from 3 different sources that the signal at home on the TV, they can't hear it and they can't see it. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but people want to hear what you're saying.
Is that out of our control?
Well, I've got former commissioners and everybody else send me messages saying there's lines in the TV and the audio's bad. It's not like the TV going out. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's actually, thank you for the interruption because I remember the word
I
now.
kind of thought we had something. All right.
It's not an exclusive agreement, so we can have as many of these agreements as we feel the city needs. Bruce Remsburg with PEC is here in the audience today. If you have any questions, this, like I said, this is not a project-specific agreement. It'd be on call as needed. There's no. Just because we have this agreement doesn't mean we'd ever use them. I feel we will. We've worked with them on several other projects. They designed the 4th and Northeast intersection, and that one actually won an award. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Questions?
No.
Motion.
I move, go ahead.
I make a motion to vote on R-15-165.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Taylor and seconded by Member Williams to approve resolution number R-15-165 for adoption. Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Resolution number R-15-166, resolution to purchase workers' compensation insurance from KERIT for 2016. Stephanie Richardson, Finance Director, will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, I noted at the meeting last time that we would be bringing the work comp insurance coverage to the Commission. They had voted on the rates that day, and so we're bringing it tonight for approval. This is for the calendar year 2016. We joined CARET, which is the Kansas Eastern Region Insurance Trust, in 2013 for our workers' comp coverage. There's currently 18 members in this group, and you're asked to join that group. There are some premium discounts available through their CARET Plus program, and this year we qualified for a 4% discount in addition to the other discounts given. Our experience mod factor this year did increase from a 1.1 to a 1.14 based on the frequency, the severity, and the cost of accidents that we had in the previous 3 years. So for this program, that would have been 2013, 14, and 15. Those are laid out in the agenda packet for your review. We also were approached by KMIT, which is our previous carrier, the Kansas Municipal Insurance Trust, and they wanted to give us a quote as well. So we sent the information to them as well. CARET quoted $211,976, while KMIT quoted $226,601. So the resolution that's before you tonight is for the CARET quote. It is $26,810 lower than last year's premium, and we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but I guess the staff is working on, the safety and things like that to try to get that lowered.
Yes.
I mean, I've heard a little bit about a year ago, but it might be good to have a little report in the future about what we're doing on that. You know, out in the industry I work in, if you have over one mod factor, you can't work in about 25–30% of the plants. And it drives you to just take safety to another level, and I don't know if it's worthy of that with the city, because we're not dependent on income from it, but it's probably worth a second to, you know, what are we doing, maybe get a report and pay a little attention to it, you know, see what we can do to get that mod factor back down. Sound like you did a good job with getting good rates, and, you know, might be something worth looking at in the future, you know, from a business standpoint or, you know, a management standpoint.
Partner with KMU for safety training, monthly safety trainings. I know Maryland HR, we have our heads our safety committee, and it's something that we address on a regular basis.
So the incidents that were caused it to raise, were they, I mean, I wouldn't mind looking at something that over the last 3 years and see what those incidents were.
Things are probably not, because of HIPAA and things like that, or would not be public information.
Names and stuff you don't need, but maybe what happened and how could it have been prevented. I mean, I don't want to get into a lot of talk right now.
Certainly.
But it's a cost that we need to try to manage, and that's all I got to say about it. We'll move on.
Okay.
Move to approve resolution number R-15-166.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Taylor to approve resolution number R-15-166 for adoption. Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Resolution number R-15-167, a resolution to submit the 2017 through 2019 Airport Capital Improvement Program data sheets. Thomas Osborne, Engineering Superintendent, will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioner. As I mentioned in my staff report, the FAA cut the response time in half, and so we don't have the actual sheets here. We are actually recommending to continue on with the same as last year, essentially. We actually plan to bank the funds, because you can bank the funds. Well, each year we get $150,000 in entitlement funds, and we can bank those funds up to 4 years. And so that's the plan, is to actually bank those funds. We still need to submit the final sheets to the FAA by December 31st. Like I said, we were hoping to have them here tonight. The engineering consultant, like I said, timeline got cut in half, so trying to rush and get everything through, there's a little behind, so be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, gentlemen?
No.
Move to approve resolution number 15-167.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Mayor Williams and seconded by Commissioner Castler to approve resolution number R-15-167 for adoption. Commissioner Powell.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Castler.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye. Thank you, Thomas. Discussion on East Coffeyville redevelopment plan. Assistant City Manager Trish Purdon will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm excited to bring this plan to you. It's something that's been in the works for quite some time. This was started basically because the Commission in 2010 passed the City Comprehensive Plan, and one of the very top items that they listed as a priority to be completed in Coffeyville was to develop a revised future land use plan for the flood-affected area of East Coffeyville. It directed the city staff to work with CVR to determine an agreed-upon future for the property in that area, to involve the community in workshops to discuss the desired use of the properties, and to develop a site-specific plan and implementation strategy for the reuse of the flood-affected area. The city hired, in conjunction with CVR and the nitrogen fertilizer plant also, hired Oshner, Hare & Hare, Trans Systems, and Canyon Research to do a full analysis of the city of Coffeyville, our economic development potential, the actual housing analysis. They literally went door to door and analyzed every single property in the entire East Coffeyville region to look at whether the house was still viable, if it needed a little work. It also analyzed traffic patterns, etc. There was a lot of work that went into the research, and I'm just going to go over the general overview of the plan today, and then I would recommend that we meet again in January, either once or twice, if you want to break it up that way, to really get into the meat of this plan. But to introduce it to the community, I feel like it's a good opportunity to let everyone know what the general idea is, and then we can start working on questions and really make this an open town hall type conversation with the community, because this is really going to affect the whole town. It was formed over many months, countless hours of research. Like I said, they did inventory of every single parcel and building in the district, GIS data on all of our utilities, so we know exactly where every single utility line is in that district. That determined a pretty good portion of how the plan was designed. Using Google Earth data, Coffeyville Comprehensive Plan. They even used data from the state of Kansas and United States Census Bureau. What's different with this plan is that they did make sure that this was a community plan. They held a community meeting for every single person who lived in East Coffeyville to attend that meeting. They got great feedback on what they wanted to see in their own neighborhoods, what they wanted to see for economic development growth. We got great feedback from CVR and nitrogen fertilizer plant on what they expect their growth to be, so it really helped establish the boundaries of what we wanted to see. The plan will basically cover, there'll be a future land use plan, a commercial development plan, which is your retail, hotels, other shopping, residential development plan, which encompasses both single-family and multifamily housing, industrial development plan, that will include light industrial, ideally support services that would support CVR and other businesses that are industry-based on that side of town. And then a parks, trails, and open space. That was deemed as a priority for this group. As we have a lot of green space now in that area, they wanted to make sure that's preserved. That was really backed up when they did Canyon Research study. They found that when employees were polled as to why they selected to work at a specific plant, if a plant had multiple locations around the country, why they selected that site, amenities like parks and recreation for their kids to participate in was one of the #1 spots on those lists. Housing and parks and rec for their kids were the top spots. Shopping, I think, went in third. So those are priorities that were reflected pretty quickly from the feedback we got from the citizens in that area, also from the studies that we received in the area and the research and analysis that was done, not just on Coffeyville, but other similar cities even of our size. If you look at your map, that's in your packet, and it is on the city website too, if citizens want to take a look at the plan, it is all out there. I think you'll see that there was a lot of detail and thought that went into this plan. We had a great leadership team that represented local businesses, families, the school districts, college. Everyone kind of worked together on this plan to make sure that everyone's questions were addressed. The biggest thing I would like to point out, if I can pull up the slide, I had a PowerPoint ready, but apparently the PDF version that I have doesn't work on that computer, so I'm sorry for that. It is in your packet. It's a slide that looks like this. It doesn't even have page numbers on my printout, so I wish I could say that, but you'll be able to see it's the only map that's big and brightly colored in the plan. You'll be able to see it pretty quickly. Anything in red is the commercial corridor. That is pretty much everything that runs along 11th Street or Northeast Street. We designated large swaths of land. Studying retail and how retail is developed these days, you don't get new retail unless they can develop large parcels and large shopping centers. You don't usually see little tiny ones pop up here and there. They want to see the quote-unquote lifestyle centers that are walkable, that have significant amounts of parking for those holiday shoppers, so on and so forth. They want to see restaurants on the out parcels. That's how retail development is done now. So we left several large swaths of land that do not have roads running through it, as you can see on that map, to make sure that we can have that development and target developers for that. On the right side, outside of the city limits, there's a large swath of land that's also identified as green. That would also be future park space. Ideally, it would be great to have some sort of sporting activities in that area. Additional soccer fields, ball fields of some sort was identified as a need in the plan. The residential area extends from Pine to, I believe that's Spruce Street, or not Spruce. I can't even see that from here, but it's a 2-block wide section all the way from 4th. Yeah, I just got new glasses, no new contacts. And it goes on past 11th Street. The large yellow section south 11th Street would be ideal for multifamily housing, townhomes, that sort of thing. Based on feedback I've also received from retailers, they love to see multifamily housing as close as possible to that retail development. That's their demographic that they're targeting, and they need that within a mile or two of the development. So that really would be ideal for that kind of development. Speaking with CVR and the nitrogen fertilizer plant, they agreed that future development will not be going south of 4th Street. So they agreed to that line up, and there's a buffer zone that's developed into that. So take a look at that, kind of start absorbing that map. We really went through a lot of thought on that. This is not the first draft that we came to. They presented this the plan the first time, and the costs were astronomical because of a placement of a single road. We realized that road the road that they were taking out needed to stay just because of the infrastructure costs. So there's been a lot of time and effort developed or dedicated to this project to try to come up with something that's feasible and is workable for our community. We don't want it to just sit on the shelf. So, more than happy to answer any questions.
We're gonna delve deeper into the this entire project coming up in the next 2 meetings. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would recommend that we break it up. Housing, economic development, parks as a section. Your implementation, utilities, the costs in another section. One of the things, and I don't want to give anyone sticker shock when they look at the plan because some of those costs are high. A lot of those costs are probably going to be absorbed by developers that are going to come in. They're not necessarily what the city's going to have to pay.
So you have a succinct list of these costs, because I see it kind of not here.
Yeah, it's in the plan. It's towards the end of all the utility costs, the infrastructure costs that would have to go into place for that. And these were put together by Trans Systems, estimating what they thought that it would cost to put those utilities in and changes for that.
I see in here a little bit, it talked about abandoning some of this infrastructure, water
Right.
lines and electric lines and the cost of it being. Do they suggest doing that because they don't think that infrastructure could meet best case scenario? Or, to me, I would think that you would build what's already there.
Well, some of the reason why some of the utilities were abandoned is because buildings would go in that spot. So, you can't run an electrical line where, you're going to have a Bath and Body Works store. You have to reroute it. So you would have to abandon that line and take it down in order to put in shopping in that area. That's how they designed it, to make sure that utilities would be adjusted for in those large swaths. The utilities would be adjusted so they would go around those shopping centers, along where we could access them if there was an emergency, a water line break or a sewer backup.
So the clarify, Bath and Body Works is coming because I'm going to be asked about 15 times.
It is on the list to recruit to our community, for
But
sure.
it's not coming to Coffeyville.
I
at this
have not
moment.
received any
Okay.
confirmations
I
they're
hope
coming.
it
I'm just
does.
using them as a
I'm
good
just-
example.
I'm just clarifying. Thank
I
you.
would love to have Bath and Body
Will you
Works.
be able to then, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg kind of thing in this instance where, you have to start building in order to attract these kinds of places to come. But is there some kind of recognized and accepted checklist of things that are normally done? And at what point can you, if this even can happen, get some kind of commitments from some of these developers that they would come in?
It's a really good point. When I was down in Dallas, I presented the draft version of this to a developer that was very interested after I gave them my sales pitch. Having this plan in place alone gave me an extra 10 minutes of elevator time with a developer. So that already was progress from just, 6 months ago when we went to Las Vegas and gave the same elevator speech. I got maybe 5 minutes tops with developers that time. This time I got 10 to 15 to give our spiel. That's the first step. Having a plan like this that says the city is serious about doing this. Using a reputable firm like we did with Ochsner, Heron, Heron, Olson Associates to put this together, that's key. That raises eyebrows. This plan has the implementation recommendations. There's the fast one that's, hey, let's try to get this in the next 5 years. And there's the, we're going to spread it out for 20 years. So it's all going to depend on what commission wants and how you want to take that project and go forward.
I think it depends on how much it costs and where you're going to get the money.
Exactly. And like I said, some of it's going to come from the developers themselves. If we can start to show some movement forward.
We're going to facilitate communication between developers and...
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think we'll probably be bringing stuff to you in the next month or so on how that's working and maybe even agreements for firms that might help us do that. We're actively working on all of that.
So Trish, how much money will the city need to spend?
At this point, I don't know for sure. It's going to be dependent on, I guess, how we're getting our feedback. I mean, if we're not getting much and it seems to be going slow, we can be more aggressive. And other communities, I'm trying to think of the name of the town that I met with in Oklahoma. It's south of Tulsa. They spurred the development by the city paid for the development of a restaurant shell. They had a kitchen in place without the appliances, but basically the shell of a restaurant, and then recruited a restaurant into that shell. Now that entire development has exploded and it's completely full. Sometimes you do have to spur some development like that, and that's not unheard of, and it's done, especially in communities like ours that are right on that threshold of what these businesses are looking at.
Right.
So.
Is there any, I'm sure they did, but we're clearly not a suburb of Tulsa.
Right.
That's a huge disadvantage when it comes to retail, Did they think about that?
They did,
I
absolutely.
mean, don't get me wrong, we're on a highway here, we're captive audience from Tulsa to Kansas City, but it's a big difference
Can
between
also be a good
Owasso
thing,
and
though.
Broken Arrow.
It actually can be a good thing, too.
It really
because
can
they
be.
place them regionally, and if we're not considered part of that.
One of the things I've learned, at least from meeting with all these retailers, is that you can't be too close to another retailer. So having Owasso be an hour away is almost a benefit to us because we are out of their market area. We don't have people who are just north of Owasso driving up to Coffeyville. We don't have people driving down to Owasso as frequently as maybe Bartlesville, which is a little closer. So companies that are in Bartlesville might have a harder argument to come to Coffeyville. For instance, I don't want to throw that examples out there, but we're having conversations with these companies regularly, and us being right there on that highway spot, the largest town pretty much between Kansas City and Tulsa, as everyone frequently calls us when I say where we're from. Oh yeah, that's where I always stop halfway through and get my soda and get on the road. So we have that niche market because of that, and we have to target retailers that fit that niche market. Are we going to get a Target? Probably not. But we could possibly get a Bath and Body Works or something a smaller scale like that. We could get a Cato's possibly, something along those lines. So, yeah, they really acknowledged who we might be able to target in this plan.
Do retailers understand that we're just not Independence, Coffeyville places, but we also reach out farther I know people come to our Walmart from all around Edna, Altamont, all of us, we're just not here, because I talked to you once about some other locations that have a certain mile radius, that they understand that we're all around the county, and even some from other counties probably.
The studies here did. I can tell you that that story is really hard to get across to retailers. They see the bottom dollar and like, well, I only look at radiuses of 5, 10, and 20 miles an hour. I don't look at 40 miles an hour. But that's where we draw from. Our radius is actually about 40 miles that we draw in, and we have that from zip code studies that said where people shop at. They did a full analysis. We know exactly how many people are buying cigarettes at a convenience store in Coffeyville. We have the data down to that fine of a point. So we know our radius, and knowing that is half the battle. I could say we're probably going to have to present something at some point to help us with the marketing to get that story across. I'm one person. But
Is having a new hotel and a casino nearby help that also?
oh, it absolutely helps that. Once again, the day that Holiday Inn broke ground was the day I was in Dallas giving our sales pitch to all these retailers and developers. And when I said we have a brand new Holiday Inn that broke ground today, and here's my plan from Olson and Associates, like I said, I got more elevator time, and we're able to give our entire sales pitch instead of Coffeyville's great, please come to Coffeyville. So we're able to give a lot of data this way and really recruit solidly, more than we've ever been able to do before. I'm very excited about our options now.
What's going on with the Walmart tearing it down?
Yeah, that plan, the plan is to tear it down. The roof is leaking something terrible, but it's also ideal ground for our very first development. Kind of what Commissioner Powell was saying, you kind of have to spur it a little bit. You have to show, here's the plot of land that we're ready to develop, and that is the first spot they're going to want. Walmart located in that spot back in whenever they located in that spot for a reason. It has very good visibility. It's right next to a restaurant. Now it's right next to 2 hotels. It's a prime spot for retail, and I can tell you that's probably going to be the very first property that's developed. In order to develop it, we have to get that building going because it's an eyesore.
Well, when are we planning on doing that, I wonder? Anybody know?
We'll have to get back to you on that as far as a date for that.
Okay, just curious.
Can we find out pretty quick? Like a couple weeks or so?
I can have an update for you
Because we
by the next meeting, absolutely.
talked about this in June, so.
Right.
Good. Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you, Trish.
Thank you very much.
At this point, we're going to take a 10-minute break, then we'll come back and finish up the meeting.
Anybody want any of this candy down here?
No, I'm all right. All right, before we get started with the discussion on the municipal facilities renovation project, I think it kind of need to bring into the conversation the fact that there are already buildings that have been addressed. Number one being the library, number two being the Youth Activity Center. And I think it would be remiss for us to enter into this discussion without all being on the same page. So therefore, before we make any decisions or have any discussions, I'm going to, first of all, some folks say I need glasses, but I don't think I do. But
Try it out.
these numbers are very small. And so I'm going to just use round numbers for the most part and not get into the cents. But I am going to tell you how much that we've spent so far on this project. You just have to bear with me as I move along. The total amount of money that we have spent as of December 14th, 2015 is as follows. If I'm reading this correctly, is $3,205,960.72. Is that correct? Yes? Okay. We've had one sales tax collection in the last 15 months in the amount of $763,450.49. Is that correct?
That's collected each month.
That's each month?
That's the total. That's 15 months worth of collection.
Okay.
And that's only the 70% of it.
That's right.
That's 15 months worth of 70% of 1/2 cent.
Okay. $763,450.49. That was paid into the one-time fund, which brings us a total expenditures after the payback of that $763,000 of spending at this point, $2,442,510.24. A breakdown of that, and I'm not going to go into every single building, but the library, the remodel for the library was budgeted, or actually the original contract was slated for $525,732.04. After 5 change orders, the total that we spent on the library was $578,351.68.
And we're not done yet, are we?
No, the library's complete.
Oh, okay, good.
Youth Activity Center. Original contract was for $1,072,439.96. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 change orders later, $1,433,772.27.
But I'm sorry, will you say what it started out again?
$1,072,439.96. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 change orders. $1,433,772.27. The Perkins Building. And the Youth Activity Center is now complete, correct?
Last meeting.
In the gym, which will staff doing maid labor.
Paint already bought?
Pardon me?
Is the paint already bought?
No, it is not.
The Perkins Building, the original, let's see, original contract was $214,441. As of today, or actually the 14th of December, make sure I have this correct. Are we at are we at 222,244, or are we at 280?
We're at the 220.
Just yell it out.
We're at the 222, 244. We have still yet to finish the 38,567.16, and we also will have 20,000 for Sanders Construction once the windows are completed.
Okay.
So what's that total going to be about?
That total will be, that we are committed to currently is $280,811.81.
And does that include that last window that's like 25,000 or whatever it was?
That will include those windows when they're finished.
So we're looking at about 280.
Correct.
So that brings us to the, well, there's the municipal building that we've spent money on up to this point, including demolition, is $779,719.12.
Where does the engineer, architect costs and all that fit into that?
It's a separate category.
Separate category on the
Architect fees or something.
It's right there. That fits into that.
So that
that
is the
cost.
779,000.
Nope, the architecture fees, $362,880.
I thought the architect was 600 and something.
No, the architect for the
It
city
was
hall,
600 something, but that's split out through all the buildings.
through all the buildings, that's correct. For the fire department, total spent to date, $133,305.85.
That's part of the engineering and the
That's
architect.
engineering, architect, and all that.
Because there hasn't been anything done over there, correct?
Architectural work.
I mean, I'm sorry, like physical.
Initial building assessment, and architectural fees. So like I said, that brings us to a grand total of $3,205,960.72 with the payment back from sales tax of $763,450.49. Those are the numbers.
Mr. Mayor?
All those fees, as of this point, have been paid out of the
The one-time funds.
one-time fund that was set aside by a settlement that was reached earlier, 3 or 4 years ago. So that's where all those funds have come from, and nothing has been financed at this point. Am I correct?
That is correct. I do want to clarify, I may have misunderstood you on your municipal building number, but the total committed to date is $808,259.10, which would include the miscellaneous cost of moving, IT, monthly police department rents, initial building assessment reimbursements of the which is 56% of the architect fees. SFS is architecture fees, the purchase of customer service at 1401 West 8th Street, and the City Hall demolition contract, and the contract with Spencer Preservation for historic tax credits purchasing.
Okay, you've got additional things on your list than I do have on this
Yeah.
list, evidently.
The, again, the grand total spent to date is $3,234,500.70, all which have been expended from the CRNF one-time funds.
And the payment back,
The sales tax collected to date is $763,450.48.
And of that money, none of it has been spent? Or have we been using it to pay it back?
It has not been spent.
I mean, we've collected it, it's sitting in its own little account, and we can show that it's right here.
it's
Yes.
right there.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Did you have anything further, Mayor?
Nope. That's that's where we sit at this point.
With your permission, I do have a presentation, and before I get started, for anyone who is, this doesn't seem to be working accurately. Is it okay? All right. Anyone who is watching at home or streaming online, this presentation is on our website, so if you go to coffeyville.com, you'll see an article under the Community Spotlight, says City Commission to discuss capital improvement project at tonight's meeting. If you click on that and open that article, there is a link to this presentation, so you'll be able to see at home what I am showing tonight. And the link is entitled Capital Improvement Project Presentation.
Also, one other thing, this document here, can we have it put on our website tomorrow?
And we will have that on the website tomorrow with a full detail of what has been spent and to, and on which buildings. Try to get out of the way here. We'll let it warm up just a little bit. We can get a better picture going, I believe. Thank you. Before I start, I'd like to say that in August, I presented a plan that my team of employees put together that we feel is the best plan for the future of Coffeyville. It meets all of our current needs. It modernizes our facilities, yet we have an eye to the future. And we need to be looking with a vision 50 years from today. And this plan, we're going to have one time to do it right. And I am convinced, I fully believe in the plan. I am blessed to have excellent senior staff. I trust the information that they give me, enough so that I put my name to it. You know, this is not going to be my legacy, but I want this to be a shining star for the city of Coffeyville. I want to start with a little bit of history. November 2012, the capital improvement sales tax was approved by voters. It was an extension of the current sales tax, and it was approved. So we first started talking about this project in 2012. September 2013, Commission approved Resolution 1377, which was bond financing. It authorized the construction of municipal building improvements and authorizing the issuance of bond financing for estimated costs of the improvements which were estimated to be $9,817,160 plus interest, plus financing costs totaling approximately $12 million. We fast forward to 2015, and obviously there's a large gap in there. A lot of things have been happening. But I want to highlight the special commission meeting that happened May 2nd, 2015. Commissioners went floor by floor and addressed each floor and the issues that they wanted to see addressed. Third floor, address the mold and asbestos issues. Needed to add a second egress stairway to meet ADA requirements, and HVAC in the small courtroom. Second floor, we were going to address the plumbing, the electric, the HVAC, and mold issues, and remodel behind the marble. First floor, we're to make it ADA accessible, again, address mold, which would include the landscaping next to the building, secure the rest of the building, secure that area from the rest of the building, and then build a standalone facility for police and fire departments. July in 2015, this is where I believe we went to the point of no return. We approved a contract with Decker Construction to demolish first and second floor. After that point, the option to pay as you go no longer existed. That option may have been the best one at one point if we were to take second floor and remodel a section at a time and pay as we went. Beyond that time, after that, that option no longer existed. And we got to the point that we are today. I was hired with the belief that this was the plan we were to follow, that we were going to build a standalone facility and we were going to remodel City Hall. I presented a plan August 25th that called for an $8 million budget, $3 million to remodel City Hall, and $5 million to build a standalone police and fire station. It was made clear at that time that the prior expenses that were paid through the one-time funds would not be replaced, but they would also not be expended from further. That any excess funds left over would go back into the one-time fund. At that same meeting, commissioners approved my recommendation to move the customer service at 8th and Buckeye back to City Hall. And that's where we stand today. Yes, sir. Well, I say I can.
Caleb, you got this in print form?
We do not have it in print form. We may have, Tricia may have one copy.
Go ahead, man. Sorry, just wanted-
No, that's fine. Obviously, this is an expensive project, and I applaud the commission for being good stewards of taxpayer money. In August, we gave a projection, what we believe to be a conservative, zero growth projection for the sales tax revenue required to pay for this project. That $607,543 projected out over 15 years was $9,113,147. Since that time, we have had actual sales tax receipts, 15 months worth, July of 2014 to September 2015. That is post Amazon and Southwire closings, and that is pre-turnaround revenues. We may have caught maybe the first 2 weeks of turnaround activities. So these are, again, these are actual numbers. They are not inflated by turnaround, but they accurately reflect both Amazon and Southwire's closings. Those receipts were $763,450. Extrapolate that out 15 years, $9,161,000, which is roughly 47 or 48,000 more than staff had forecast. We'll talk about historic tax credits. That was a portion of our presentation, to have City Hall placed on the historic register, the Kansas Historic Register, would be eligible for 25% of construction costs. That would be eligible for the historic tax credits. We actually took that 25% by the projected construction costs, took that number, and then took 77% of that number. So we reduced it down because we wanted to be conservative as to what we thought we could have for revenue. That's where we came up with the $550,000 in historic tax credits, giving us a total revenue stream of $9,711,000. Now I will say, as I go to the next slide, guess I got to be in line of sight, or I may just need to be smarter than the. This is essentially the same plan that I presented August 25th. However, the delays since that time, interest rates have risen. The cost of financing has risen. Because of that, we have had to scale back some of our projected cost estimates. Now we believe, and in fact we know, that there was some excess built into that budget. But because of the inflated or the increased cost for financing, we have scaled that back. The plan remains the same. Customer service will come to first floor. The rest of the area will be secured tenant space. City administration offices will be on second floor. The county will remain on the third floor. We will replace all the windows in the building. We will remove the asbestos. That third floor staircase is the second means of egress from the third floor all the way to the first floor. Any mold remediation that would have to occur on the third floor, which is the window replacement, will take care of 99% of the mold. There is some in the sheetrock on the south wall of the third floor. We have $200,000 built-in contingencies and $1.7 million for construction costs. Commission was concerned about our estimates for remodeling. They asked us, specifically, Commissioner Taylor asked if we could approach a local contractor and have them give us a quote, and we did. I presented Decker Construction with these two schematics. This is our proposal for second floor of City Hall and the configuration of city offices and the commission room, along with our configuration for first floor customer service. I took that and gave it to Decker Construction. They returned a square footage cost to us for remodeling to be $145 to $155 per square foot as a cost of remodeling. That equates to $1.66 to $1.78 million for renovation costs, which are exactly in line with our $1.7 million. We're confident in our numbers. Like I said, I'm blessed to have excellent staff. They're well educated. They know their jobs. When I present these numbers, I believe in them. In two instances now, we've seen they've been confirmed, both our remodeling costs and our projections with sales tax. Total renovation costs of $2.77. Again, second floor, first floor, which I'd like to touch on briefly.
Kendall, these black dots are what?
The black dots are columns. Those are 2x2 pillars that are dispersed throughout first floor, support beams, concrete supports. I made the recommendation to bring customer service from 8th and Buckeye back to City Hall. I cannot in good conscience support any plan that does not return customer service back to City Hall. We're a business. We need to think and operate like a business. The inefficiencies that are presented with a satellite office, any businessman can tell you that would not be a wise business choice. On October 14th of 2014, our planning staff presented an overview of what would be needed to make 8th and Buckeye a permanent location. And that's what I have listed over here under inefficiencies. It detailed the need for a new roof, driveway and parking upgrades, security upgrades, HVAC replacement, ADA compliance. We needed to secure the teller area, and there were exterior renovations that were needed. The cost associated with that was $100,000. That was the upfront cost to make 8th and Buckeye a permanent facility. You add on top of that the operational costs, which equate to about $10,000 a year to operate that facility, and the operational inefficiencies that it creates for my staff. I fully understand the amenities that it offers to the customers. We believe that we can bring those same amenities, the drive-through, to City Hall. Candidly, customer service is an area that, as we look to the future, 5 to 7 years, will not reflect the same as it does today. We're in a generation now that pays bills online. And as we move to the future, like I said, we have to have a vision for the future. Customer service is going to be reduced. It's just the facts. You won't have a need for as many staff or the size of facility that we have. It makes no sense to invest $100,000 into a building that, quite honestly, we won't have a need for in 5 to 7 years. Part 2 of the plan was to build a new police and fire station. We hired a design build team, and we started putting a plan together. As you'll see here, we had an initial design for both police and fire. We sat down, and they gave their perfect world wish list. And when it was put out there, we realized quite quickly that we were well over budget. So we started to prioritize. We began to reduce the design. Police station went from 15,800 square feet to roughly 11,800 square feet. Fire station's initial design was 15,000 square feet. They've reduced that to 12,000. And then we have shared spaces of approximately 1,900 square feet. Now remember, this is a not-to-exceed budget of $5 million, and that is the benefit of using a design-build team, that we can help control those costs so that we're confident in that $5 million figure. This is a diagram of our first initial design. And I apologize that I don't have the most current design, but following the last commission meeting, we instructed the architects to stop work because we did not have a clear direction on how to continue, and we didn't want to continue spending money. So for the purposes of tonight's presentation, we have taken the original design, and the red X's that you see dispersed throughout the building are areas that we have cut. Significant work. This is about our 5th or 6th meeting with Crossland and WSK Architects. Again, I truly believe this to be the best choice for the city of Coffeyville. Again, it modernizes our facilities. It gives us an eye to the future. We sincerely believe in the tax numbers that we've presented. A zero growth, worst case. We already see the growth that's beginning to happen. In fact, Stephanie reported to me late this afternoon the latest sales tax numbers. We are up 0.58% over the previous year. And as we looked at the historic data, we are, the high for the last 15 or so years was 2006. We are $9,000 shy of where we were in 2006. Coffeyville, there's a lot of great things happening here. There's a lot of positives. We're not going to stay at zero growth. We see the hotel being built. We got news of last meeting, MJD Products moving to Coffeyville. We have growth occurring. Acme is expanding. A lot of positives are happening. I believe that we're going to continue to grow. Those sales tax numbers are going to continue to grow. Negative growth has been thrown out there as a worst case. I'm just not convinced in that. Zero growth, if nothing else happened, we could still afford this project. However, I understand the concerns. In August, we had looked at several other options. We had, in the presentation, we had options B, C, and D. We didn't show them to you because they just frankly weren't the best option. Tonight I will show you an option that has been talked about, and that is to return the police station back to the first floor of City Hall. However, again, I cannot recommend any plan that does not also bring customer service back to City Hall. And to be able to build those conveniences, a drive-through into customer service at City Hall, it also has to go on the first floor. So as we look at this, the area of City Hall on first floor that can be remodeled is 12,000 square feet. We did a very quick preliminary drawing, and I mean very quick. I asked Dennis to put the plan together. It has no input from Chief Bromley, so my apologies to him. But we needed to look to see what could happen.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, you've got 12,000 feet. How many feet for the police station is in the new one? If we build a new one, how many?
And I will point that out. We're at almost 12,000, but if you add the shared spaces, we're close to 14,000. Okay, so we've allotted 10,850 square feet to police on the first floor and 1,150 square feet to customer service on the first floor.
Hey, Kendall?
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you're talking to me indirectly. I never said I wanted the police department and the customer service together on the first floor, so this would be your plan, not the one at
and I didn't mean to allude that this was a plan of yours. I just that there had been talk of bringing police back to first floor.
I've been talking about it for 3 years.
Okay. The police department figure for that we have for the budget, we took the $5 million that we had allotted for the standalone and just simply divided it in half, as you'll see here shortly. 2.5 million to allotted to the police and 2.5 million allotted to the fire department, because we don't have a per square foot cost of construction for a police department. We have a cost for a standalone. We can give you an across the building average cost of building a police and fire station, but police stations are hardened areas, secured areas. The cost per square foot is higher than it would be to build a bay to house a fire truck. So that cost is an average. So to simplify things, I allotted $2.5 million for the police department. Customer service, that is taking Decker's estimate of $155 per square foot, multiply that by 1,150 square feet to give you the cost of $178,250. And then we've taken the windows, asbestos, and contingency fees from the rest of the plan and allotted, and those portions for first floor are figured into the total of $2,988,250. At the bottom you'll see total municipal hall historic tax credits approximately equal to $965,000. Again, that's based on the same formula, 25% of actual construction costs, and then we take 77% of that number to give you an approximately $965,000 we would be eligible for in historic tax credits. There is a caveat to that I will speak to here in a little bit, but the State Historic Preservation Office doesn't let you do things halfway. Either the whole building meets historic qualities and you're eligible for the tax credits, or you're not. You can't do second floor meets it, first floor doesn't. And there are some issues that we have some concerns about if we bring the police station back to the first floor, some issues with security that we fear will disqualify us from those historic tax credits. Okay, and again, here is just a quick plan that I asked Dennis Jacobs to put together. It's actually some concepts from former Chief Tony Celeste and just some of our own imagination as to how customer service would continue to fit in that northeast corner. A lot of the issue with first floor, as Commissioner Casser pointed out on that first screen, you can see a lot of those pillars that are dispersed throughout the building. It makes it very hard to configure rooms around those, around those pillars. So I'd like to look at both the current plan that I presented in August with this alternative plan. Again, the numbers figure a little different. Municipal Hall first floor on mine is only for customer service, and so obviously that number is considerably smaller than if you were to add the police and customer service together. But total municipal hall costs is, on mine, is $2,770,000 and $5 million on the alternative plan. You can see the new fire station, $2.5 million. Again, that's what we allotted to. The number that we need to pay attention to is the bonded total. That is, on the plan that I have presented, is $7,770,000. The bonded total on the alternate plan is $7,616,375. The difference is approximately $53,000. The alternate plan is approximately $53,000 less. And that is a result of reducing the square footage of customer service and putting an actual dollar amount to that. So we reduced customer service by about 1,000 square feet at $155 a square foot. That's where that difference comes in.
Is it fair to use that plan? That's just a plan that you say you just kind of made up. Now, your other plan, you say is a solid plan that numbers that you can back. You yourself have admitted that these are just kind of plans you threw together. You haven't even talked to anybody in the police department about it. So, can you really use them numbers to justify it?
I took the total amount, the $5 million that we had allotted for, and just divided it equally among the two.
But that plan won't look, let's say we went forward with the first floor plan, I'll guarantee you it won't look nothing like that.
As far as costs,
We're talking about government here. It won't look nothing like that. And you're gonna have to talk to the police department. They may not even be okay with that.
there's still some things that we're going to have to address, and security and securing that floor is one of the biggest obstacles that we will have to overcome about putting police station back on the first floor.
Did you ask Chief of Police what he thought about how he could do that?
We have had discussions, Chief Bromley, and he is the one that alluded to these issues, and he'll be happy to speak to all the issues that we have with bringing the police department back to the first floor. The first and the obvious one is we're reducing their size.
If you put the customer service on.
If we put the customer service, we've reduced it by 1,000 square feet. But we reduced it.
You won't need a drive-through in 5 years, so why would your plan to put it back even include a drive-through? If you don't need it in 5 years, it's gonna be all digital. So hell, you can put it back on the second floor and forget your drive-through.
Handicap accessible. People can get on, you know.
We're still building the amenities into first floor, just at a reduced size and cost. But compared to the square footage that the standalone, we've reduced the police department by 43% if we put them back into first floor. Bonded totals, obviously it's a little cheaper on the alternate plan. The financing costs are based on an $8 million bond. We know what those costs to be. Both of these are a little bit less, so they'll decrease, but we've made them the same for both. Total expenses, you can see the difference again. The alternate plan is a little cheaper. Historic tax credits are the significant difference in both of these plans. We would be eligible, theoretically eligible, for significant increase in historic tax credits by putting police station back on the first floor, just because of the increased construction costs. Again, we alluded to the fact that having to secure that building, specifically windows, if we have to bar the windows or any kind of screenings to the windows, which historically has had to happen to make secure areas within the police station, that would disqualify us instantly for those tax credits. So if we were to remove those, then that plan, we have a shortfall of $380,375 as compared to revenues. Briefly just talk a little bit about the pros and cons between the first. Again, the current municipal facilities plan, pros, we have room for future growth and expansion. A cheaper, more efficient customer service operations by eliminating the 8th and Buckeye location. We have a secured building for safer police operations, and that's what we alluded to with having to bar or screen the windows on first floor. That wouldn't happen in a brand-new standalone facility. We wouldn't have that necessity. We're modernizing our facilities for police and fire, and honestly for city administration too. Maximizing our value by utilizing shared space for emergency services. We have approximately 2,000 square feet of shared service space. By putting police and fire in the same building, they're able to utilize the same, some of the same meeting rooms, facilities like that, training, exercise equipment, etc. A con, it's $153,000 more expensive than the alternative plan. And there is significant unused space on first floor. It will be secured for tenant space, but as of today, we do not have anyone that has shown interest in coming to putting offices in first floor. We've had some conversations with the county, but nothing that I would even say has been fruitful to this point. So that is a definite con to the plan. The alternate plan, pros, $153,000 cheaper, and the potential for increased tax credits. That same con exists. There's a potential loss of all tax credits due to this increased safety requirements. There is no room for any future expansion of the police force. What we do today, we got to look, it's going to last 50 years. There's not, unless that building just collapses, there will not be another chance to build a police station. So we're going to ask our police force to be put into an area that just doesn't meet their needs and may not be able to be configured to accurately meet their needs. One area would not be able to build a sally port, which would increase the risk of escapes and to a lesser extent slips and falls. We talked about reduced space. It is at this at the plan that I presented, 10% less space than they had originally when they were on first floor, and 43% less space than the design standalone. One huge detractor from this point is the noise from inmates that can be heard and have historically been heard throughout second floor and now even more adjacent first floor customer service. I'd entertain any questions that commission or citizens might have. I do have a third alternative that is cheaper. I at this point, unless I hear the commission say that they would like to explore that option. Okay. Well, we can let me show you. Let me show you this third option. Oops. It is, instead of building a new fire station, it is taking and remodeling our current station. We received one bid in 2014 when this was first proposed, one bid for $1.7 million to remodel the current facility, expand it a little bit to the south to add some office space. However, it did not increase roof height or anything to allow for the larger equipment that is a reality in today's world. That bonded total is $6,816,000. We'd have reduced financing costs. We'd still be theoretically eligible for the historic tax credits of about, the $965, which would leave us a balance of $1.6 million. No. And I will address that. The question was whether or not, in any of the plans that we presented, did we have intention of paying back the CRNF, the one-time funds? The original sales tax projections that were presented by former administration were inflated significantly. The expected total revenue was $11.9 million. To the side, you'll see the rationale of why they were believed in 2015 that there'd be an additional restaurant. In 16, there'd be a fast food restaurant plus 24,000 feet of existing strip development. Additional retail at the West Walmart building in 17, and addition of 25,000 square feet of new general retail by 2019. Those were the numbers that were used to sell, no other way to say it, Resolution R1377. And I wish I had this in a slide, but R1377 it outlines a breakdown in municipal building, the fire station, youth activity center, the library, and the Perkins building. And the $9.8 million that would be required just in reconstruction alone, that did not account for financing, which that total is about $12 million. We have spent $3.2 million. I am asking to bond the $7.7 million with a total payback of $9,695,000. That puts total project costs between what is expended and what we intend to expend to be $12.8 million, about $800,000 more than Resolution R1377. That plan was to bond the entire expenditures. The only way to repay that $3.2 million is to somehow cut $3.2 million out of these projects. Candidly, that means something's being left out. Either you choose not to remodel City Hall and it stays an empty shell and we stay in temporary trailers behind the Early Learning Center. You don't do anything with the police department, or you don't do anything with the fire department. And those are the hard choices that we have to make, because this is the point we're at. I can't be any more candid than that. Other questions?
Those load-bearing pillars, how hard is it going to be to work around? And for instance, the training room for the police department is going to be hard to get line of sight. There are those, I walked the other day, and those pillars are at the most random places they could ever be. There's even some structural damage. There's some bad places over where the cells used to be. How is that going to make it? How is that all going to be?
Well, even just this first rendition, I mean, if you looked in the corner of the training room, there's a pillar in the north corner. Each of these rooms, the holding area, there's pillars, evidence, there's pillars, briefing room. Every wall through those offices are going to have a jut in them, because you're right, they're randomly placed. It will take a lot of thought and planning to accurately work around them, but I don't think that we can, I don't think we could build something without some offices just having pillars in the middle of them.
Okay. You mentioned Sally Port. A lot of people think that that's just going to be a toy for the police officers, and they really don't need it. Could you explain why that we have to have a Sally Port for safety reasons?
I'd much rather just turn this over to Chief Bromley, and he can address the issues with the Sally Port or anything that he thinks that I have neglected to say.
Commissioner Castler, I didn't hear your question.
His question is to the Sally Port, that it's perceived by some to be unnecessary. What would be the Sally Port?
I don't know who's asking those questions to you or addressing that a Sally Port is unnecessary. Obviously, unless they're in law enforcement, they won't understand what the need and benefit of a Sally Port is. Primarily, it will assist with preventing escapes. Another thing with the liabilities that we face with slips and falls, it will prevent people from walking across the north parking lot, which is during the wintertime is constantly in shade, which is a sheet of ice. So it would prevent falls. And if a prisoner takes a fall and has a head injury, it's going to cost a lot of money. I don't know if a Sally Port is actually feasible over at City Hall. It would definitely benefit bringing prisoners in. It would also protect the prisoners as well from people that would want to perhaps do harm to them if they were arrested in a high profile or high incident type case where there were victims involved and we had to get them into a secure facility quickly. That is the benefit of a Sally Port. Plus, we can keep all of our equipment in the Sally Port that we use for cars instead of in the hallways leading to the jail cells. One of our big fears in the past was somebody grabbing Armorall and squirting in an officer's eye or de-icer or something like that because we had no place to store that. So that we would be able to keep car equipment, supplies, things like that in the Sally Port. So I guess unless somebody actually has done law enforcement, I could see where they would think that it would be a luxury item, but they are needed, and that's the trend that law enforcement has been going to. You go to any facility that has a jail, whether it's short-term or long-term, and they're equipped Sally Ports now.
Okay, can you go ahead and, he talked about security, can you go ahead and tell us why security is so important?
The issues that I have with the windows is both to protect physical security as well as personnel. Obviously, it's standard glass, and I'm not saying that somebody's going to do a drive-by on the building, but that is a possibility. On the new configuration, it's going to have limited windows. The other thing would be somebody wanting to break into the building and destroy evidence or records. And somebody motivated on a Sunday afternoon with 5 gallons of gasoline could do a lot of damage. And so in the past, we have had to secure the windows with expanded metal, which also is a safety concern if there is an issue with
Didn't you have a burglary at your police department one time?
What's that?
I said, didn't you have a burglary at your police department one time?
We have had unauthorized access at the PD in the past. And that's the problem. On a Saturday or Sunday, if somebody wants to enter that building, City Hall in general, they can. So yeah, we've lost our audio and video equipment out of the detective interview room. Somebody broke in over the weekend and stole it. And of course, the south side of City Hall is where all the windows are at. The north side had limited windows, and they did have bars over the windows by the back door going into the cell block. Those are since gone. and some of those windows had been bricked up from previous years, way before my time. Other issues and concerns I do have are, besides prisoner slips, would be prisoners being brought into the building from the county. Most of the prisoners going up to the county to court on the 3rd floor are in belly chains and leg irons, and they can't go up the stairs, so they have to be brought in to the elevator, and they would be paraded through customer service. And most of those individuals are not ladies and gentlemen, so they would probably make a lot of crude remarks and gestures to the public, as well as some of the staff. So those are concerns. Slips and falls in the parking lot are other concerns that I have. But the entire bottom floor would have to be totally secure, no access at all for the public, and that's going to cost some money to do properly.
You know, if we had a Sally Port next to the building on the historical rules, you said we couldn't have a Sally Port?
I don't know that we couldn't. I think any change of the exterior of that building would be difficult. That's one reason we're looking at an interior stairway for egress, because adding fire escape, for lack of a better word, on the outside is going to change the historic look of that building.
So as long as it didn't touch the building, you're probably fine.
That may be a fair assumption.
Any additional questions of Chief Bromley? I'd like to open the floor up now for anyone who wants to speak about this particular item to come forward and speak.
Hi, my name is Steve Moody. I live at 611 Spruce here in Coffee. I was on the Blue Ribbon Committee, or the Renovation Committee, as it was later changed to. And again, I don't know if you got one of these or not, since you're these were presented. I know Jim's had one because he's part of it. This is for reference and reference only. This is our recommendation to the city. This is a copy of the recommendation to the city that this committee did. They have released the committee since, I think this commission actually released the committee when we're no longer together. So I'm representing myself as a citizen and a taxpayer with some knowledge of this committee and this project. First of all, when we met, one of our first assignments was to go to 8th and Buckeye and evaluate what needs to be done there. The commission at that time had purchased that building, and they had voted from public comment that we would keep the service center there. It was easy access for parking. In and out was quick. I had a drive-through, had covers for it, and Dennis Jacobs drew up some plans to bring it up to code. He's got, I don't know where they're at, but an ADA bathroom, putting a new roof on, a back door. I think they've already fixed the front parking, the concrete work. There was a security wall that was going to be built inside for the counting room, but it was a bank and it's secure, it has safes. And when we talked to the personnel and the city at that time, the city staff also, thank you for having me here. The main issue was scheduling personnel. If someone called in sick, they had to send somebody from downtown to there. I know Jim has issues with it. I did construction work for most of my life. I've had scheduling issues with personnel. That's management's job. I've had to pull guys from Chinook, Kansas and send them to Nowata for a job because I needed 2 more guys there. That's a little more than a mile. I don't think that happens a lot. Vacations, whatever, you can plan for those schedules. But on the other side of that, of moving the drive-through and the service center back to first floor, it was $600 and some thousand. And we don't need that right now. I mean, we've got this facility, we're gonna have to upgrade it anyway to sell it. Even if we move out of there, we're still gonna have to put an ADA bathroom in, we're gonna have to put a roof on it, whatever it is to sell it and get it up to code. That's one of the issues that I differ with him on this plan. He's not been here very long. He's not, I don't think, in the loop totally of what's going on with this, because this is not an overnight process. We've been doing this for a long time. City Hall. City Hall is, and I agree 100%. We gotta do something. I mean, right, wrong, or different, we gotta do something. And that's what I've heard people out here talk about tonight, is a vision of growth. Commissioner Powell, you moved back here, you opened a business. You wouldn't open a business if you didn't think you was gonna make money. That's a growth. We've got a new machining company coming in. We've got a new motel. We've got expansions going with the bigger companies here. Max Williams, wherever he's at. He's a little older than I am, but I've been through here, you know. Well, you know, my folks worked out of Continental Can, and Continental Can shut down, and there was thousands of people out of work. Coffeyville came back. The 2 times he was talking about, we've always come back, and we've come back strong. And I mean, I'm really passionate about Coffeyville. And I want you all as commissioners to have this vision that we need to spend this money. We'll pay for it somehow. We've got, wherever she's at, you know, she's drumming up business. We got all this property out by Walmart. We need to, and not just sitting business cards, we need to be sitting in their office. We need them to get them down here, because they will come. I mean, they will come. They're gonna see us doing things. They're gonna come and expand with us. I know these projections on the restaurants and whatnot. Through my grapevine, I heard there's another restaurant looking at Coffeyville. I don't know if they're gonna buy or what. Someone said something about, well, I call them vanilla shells. You build a building and drywall it on the inside. You give them the square foot and you can lease it out to them. That's a common practice in most all cities. But it's a cost. That's your east side development. We need to get this taken care of first. You can put that on the burner, or we can go ahead and think about it, but we need to get, I mean, that's showing growth to the world. And if we want a business to come in here and expand and grow with Coffeyville, we're gonna have to go after them. We're gonna have, it will work. We just have to work hard to get it. Next, the police department, the fire department. Oh, let's get back to Memorial Hall. In this proposal that we presented, first floor is gonna be completely gutted, and it's gonna be tenant finish. And that will pay for the remodels down there. And I know you said that you're putting feelers out and stuff. We've got county health, I mean, we've got CASA, we've got all kinds of people that can come in there. It's not gonna happen tomorrow or next year, but if we can, when their contracts come up, state unemployment, they're looking, I mean, they're all stuck in, I mean, they were stuck in a college building. Those are the people that we can get in there and keep them, make them happy, and build it the way they want. I mean, that's, I don't know if you've been to county health, any of you. I mean, that I'm scared to even walk by it, let alone go in there to get treated for anything. It's old. I think a Western store. You know, that's the kind of things we need to get back into City Hall. Tenant finished. Standalone fire and police department. And I seen, Kendall, that you took out the Sally Port, and in this proposal, we didn't go to an architect and a general contractor. We went design built. Morton Buildings, they do that. And there's some references in here of people that build exactly what we're wanting. Not exactly, but what were the combination buildings in 2014. Their costs, they gave us the prints to them. They gave us contractors, the engineer built contractors that will do that. And we can knock those figures down. I mean, those figures can come in lower than they are. That's why we put this together. As a committee, we went way outside the box. We looked at the old Walmart building on the east side of town. Well, Jim, I think, was looking at maybe buying it, and I don't even think it's worth him buying it, because it's, I mean, it needs everything. The Coffeyville's not in the real estate business. That's the whole point. We've had houses, and I think we're done selling our remodel houses. They're all gone.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think we're gonna get back into that program again.
Almost.
We still have one?
We do now.
Okay, well, but that's my point, you know, banks aren't in the real estate business, communities aren't in the real estate business, realtors are. And, I think the money was there and it looked good, but we're in Coffeyville. Changing the subject a little bit, if you go out South Florida, they're making great progress on all those new homes out there. I just hope we fill them, but that's another story. Back to the police and fire department. In this proposal, which was in January, is when we presented this, we went to the police department, went to the fire department, we talked to the firemen, we talked to police officers, we talked with insurance companies, we talked to bonding companies, and what these numbers are is needs. There's no wants in here. There's not any wants in our square footage cost. This breaks down square footage costs, it's got legalities, it's got sketches of what's in here, it's got the breakdown costs of what it is per square foot, and yes, the police department's $200 and some a square foot, and the fire department's $100 and some a square foot. But that's what it is. You're not paying for bays, you're paying for security. The Sally Port was included in this. So, and I don't know where you're at with your engineers and whatever, but I think you need to do a little more research on who can build this at a cost savings to us. If you get to a design-built company, they engineer them. You give them a footprint on this is what we want, they'll engineer it down to the electric outlets. And they will come in and build it and walk away, concrete and all. And those figures are in here. Now, this was in January. In getting back to the vision part, I think all of you have a vision, and we was talking in the back. We've had commission in here that just spends money. We're still paying for a football stadium for one. That was a vision that backfired, and I respect and appreciate your concerns on the money, but I'm agreeing with our city manager that the vision's there, the growth is coming, and obviously by the sales tax, it has done what it said it was going to do, plus some. And we're just starting, guys. We're just starting. We're getting businesses in here, and if we show the initiative to the working world, the businesses of this world, that we're willing to grow and do what is needed to get them here, and that's knocking on doors, not just sending business cards, that's going out and talking to them. I think Coffeyville will, east side too, I think we can get 20,000 people in here again. And that's my ultimate goal, was to get this back up to what it was when I was a kid. Because there was nothing, 20,000 people was nothing. I mean, that was a good town. We had tax money, everybody was growing, everybody was comfortable. We had more than one grocery store and a Walmart, and that's what we need to get back to. So in my closing, and again, this is just for reference. I mean, this is what we put together as a recommendation and we went, we talked to Mr. Crumby. I know Mr. Taylor talked to Christ quite a few times, but we all talked to him about bonding issues and what, and I think the city manager's proposals are good, but I think we can cut some corners more on that. We just need to do it, but we need to do something. I mean, you guys need to keep the vision in line. Go ahead and approve a cap. Approve $5 million on this or $2 million on that. Approve that cap, and then take a month or two and see what you can whittle out of that and still give our service people, our first responders, what they need so we can all be safe. Like I said, you're a first responder. You're county, though, but, you're still there. Come out, your hands up. Come out. Yeah, I heard that. Anyway, thank you all. I just wanted to say my piece. I don't know if it's a question and answer. I will answer if there is any questions. I don't know what I can answer, but I will answer from anybody.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Shelby Sewell, 107 Warwick. First off, I want to tell you guys, this is my opinion and my opinion alone. This does not represent who I work for or the agency that I work for. This is my opinion as a citizen of Coffeyville who pays her taxes. My name is Shelby Sewell. I grew up in Coffeyville and I lived here until I was in 6th grade. I returned as an adult. When I put in for employment here, my friends and family said, "Why do you want to come back to Coffeyville?" And the answer was easy for me. This is where I came from. This is my roots. This is my hometown. I want to be able to come to Coffeyville, and I want to be able to make a difference. I want to improve the town that I grew up in. And those who know me No, I have spent the last 5.5 years trying to do this. One way I know we can improve our community is to show we want to improve and establish idealisms and community involvement. I believe that the city of Coffeyville has spoken and that the citizens want to show prosperity by providing a better facility for our police officers and our fire department. They told us this when they passed the sales tax, and they told us this again when we sent out flyers and to voice their opinions over the new building for police and fire. A new building, a building with a proper jail, a sally port, and officer safety issues like that would only boost the safety for our city and for our officers. Transporting an inmate to another facility, to another jail for misdemeanor crimes is cost prohibitive. Not only that, but we pay for them to be there. And when we do that, we're pulling an officer off of the street for a year. When I say we, I mean the police department. So we need to change that. If you pay attention to the uniform crime report, since we have closed down our jail, the uniform crime report, we've gone up 13% in our crime. And I believe that's connected to not having our jail. It's obvious in that regard that the firehouse also needs their standards changed. They need to have the room for the bigger fire trucks. They need to have facilities for a woman when they hire a woman firefighter down the line. They don't have that now. Our police department didn't have that either. I had a male locker room where I was walking in and there was men in there. That's awkward and confusing for me. I don't like that. So when you think about this, please don't tell me that the money isn't there, because we've looked at this frontwards, backwards, and once again tonight, the money is there. And there's not that big of a difference between remodeling and building a new facility. We have new businesses coming into town. We have growth coming into town. We have Acme remodeling. We have the brand new hotel coming in. And I think that the numbers that we have been shown are not embellished, and they're not, they haven't been inflated at all. We have growth in our city, and negativity on the part of our community leaders isn't going to help our growth. When people see that negativity, they don't want to go to a town that doesn't have optimism. A few months back, I went to Oklahoma to visit my family, and I drove through a town called Cushing, Oklahoma. When I was coming into this town, the first thing I saw as I crested the hill was this brand new public works facility. It was on the top of the hill. There was a fire department and police department combination. Then they had an extra annex garage. And I stopped to talk to that facility. And I said, how much did it cost you guys to build this? They said $6 million to build the whole thing. We're not that far behind, and this way supersedes any concepts, ideas that we have had.
Where was that, Shelby?
That was in Cushing, Oklahoma. It was a really beautiful facility, and I was very impressed with it. When I saw that building, I saw growth, I saw community pride, and I saw a dedication to protecting their citizens. And I say we can bring that to Coffeyville. I can see where you say that the community has argued prospective growth before and with the stadium and the aquatic center, but we're not talking about parks, and we're not talking about recreations here. We're not talking about the outskirts of town. We're talking about the center of town, and we're talking about the safety and well-being for our citizens. We're talking about response times to fires and crimes, and you can't put a price tag on a citizen's safety. We will not grow by turning two amazing police departments, police departments and fire departments, which have led the way in law enforcement and fire departments for years. We will not show improvement by putting us in a smaller facility, half the size of what we originally estimated. And we can't just ignore the fire department's problems by trying to remodel something that's still not going to help. So it seems to me that the people of Coffeyville have spoken. We want to see the growth. We want to see the improvement. We want to see the safety and security. And we want the community leaders to take responsibility for our community and build a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelby.
Gentlemen, I'll make it short. City manager has clearly demonstrated that regardless of the direction you decide to go, funds are available, possibly with the exception of everybody moving back into City Hall, and he uses the term possible loss of historic tax credits. I would say it's probable loss. So regardless of the direction you go, the money's there. You've seen all the options. You can talk this to death for another 6 months. You can slam it again for another 6 months. To quote former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, you cannot manage the past, but you can manage the future. Make a decision and get on with it.
Jim, I'd like to ask you a question. We were talking a while ago. You said something about, if you don't mind me asking, because I know you were there, the strategic fund. We were talking about it a little while ago. You and I actually talked about it 6 months ago. I'm concerned, and you were there, I'll call you out here. We spent this $3 million, and that, well, how do you feel about that? I mean, that's an issue. That's part of what's going on here is the financing, and we talked about it real briefly over there a little while ago.
That's water under the bridge, Jim, Commissioner Taylor. We can't do anything about it. It's been spent, and to repay that money would, out of the bond proceeds, as was originally envisioned by our former city manager, is not going to happen. It just can't. It would prohibit the project from going forward. So just live with the fact that that fund is now down to 2 million now. There's some money there. There's an intent to repay about $800,000 that was borrowed from it for street projects that will be repaid over time. Am I correct? Yeah. Okay, so that'll go back up a little bit. But you just need to make a decision on the options that you've got before you now. There's basically 2 options. So pick one and get on with it.
So when you was on the commission, you were probably the biggest proponent of paying that back. Let's say we rewind and you didn't lose and you're sitting here today, would you still say, forget it, it's water under the bridge, we've got to go forward?
Right, because the original intent was that money would not be spent without commission approval, and it was. So we can't do anything about that now.
Thank you, Jim.
I would like to clarify that because of the amount of time that's passed, that $1,409,481.90 of that money that has been spent by law cannot be repaid with bond proceeds. Now, it could be repaid as sales tax came in, but bond proceeds could not pay that amount.
Thank you.
Charles Weed, 207 West New. You know, you're talking about putting the police station back under City Hall. One of the things that's going to attract people is a public presence. If we have that fire station, we have that police station out on the main street, business people will come in here, well, do we want to build here? Do we want to put in a store here? How about a gas station? Well, right there's a police station and a fire station. They're going to be close when we build here. And we tuck the police station back under the outhouse, back under City Hall, where they never wanted to be for the last 20 years anyway. They're going to come in, well, where's the police station? That's going to take them 2 minutes to get to 11th Street before they can come down to where my business is, where my gas station is, where my house is. You know, look at it from where the people coming in, the people we want to attract, are going to be looking at. You know, they want to see something, you know, to them. They want to feel safe coming here. And we can't put in a new road to City Hall. You know, there's too much crud in the way. We can't move City Hall. It's too heavy. So let's go ahead and put the police station out where it needs to be, where we can use it to attract people instead of burying it back in the past.
Thank you.
Is Steve Moody is still out there? Is Steve Moody still out there? Drop the bomb and walk out.
They were waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to get in line there, Jim.
Well, I did always go last time, don't sit down, and I did. I remember that. Are you ready to?
Mayor, Commissioners, I almost feel like I'm in line at the auto tag office with the line that's sitting back there, so I'll try to make it short and sweet. My name is Mike O'Connor. I live at 401 Centennial. 2/3 of my life, the other third of my life is spent at the building at 701 South Walnut, also the fire department. I was asked the other day by a commissioner what has changed. This is a question asked me by a commissioner when I asked if we could speak with him on the issue to address some of our problems. One thing that has changed since then, Thanksgiving night I was on shift at the fire department. We ran approximately 5 calls that evening. When I went to go to sleep, as you guys recall, we had a heavy rainstorm that evening. When I went to go to bed at about 11 o'clock, I went to lay down in my bed, and my sheets were soaking wet. Thought maybe somebody played a prank on me. Well, then I got to realize that no, that wasn't the problem. We actually had a roof leak above my bed that dripped on my headboard and splattered onto my bed. That's happened to me twice since then, and it's happened to numerous other guys. I'm not the only one. I'm sure you could ask, but you guys have talked to them, so you know the problems. To address what what Mr. Taylor said, as emergency responders, I first want to say thank you for the words from Mr. Taylor that Commissioner Taylor read. However, I think I speak for most of us in the emergency field when I say that no thanks are garnered, because we're only doing these things because that's what we're paid to do. You stated that we need the best money, the best facility and equipment money can buy, and I don't think there's a single one of us who have asked for that. We just want a building that's going to be feasible and that'll function efficiently for what we need. Facts versus opinions. Facts are something that truly exists or has happened. Opinions are a belief or judgment that rests on grounds insufficient to produce complete certainty. Now, at this police fire building, we have plenty of both. Some of the facts. The sales tax was passed by the citizens of Coffeyville by a rough vote of 1,280 to 1,160 in November 2012. A panel consisting of 7 men was produced by you, the commission, to review what would best serve Coffeyville. It was voted 6-1 for a standalone building. A survey requested by you, the commissioners, was then sent to the registered voters of Coffeyville to ask their opinion. The survey returned roughly 60% to 40% to build a standalone building. These are facts. You can't argue with them. So far, progress has been halted by mainly 2 commissioners with nothing but the opinion of themselves and others. The city staff has produced info at your request and shows we can produce the revenue in order to pay for this. Any commissioner in this panel that doesn't believe Coffeyville will grow in the next 10 to 15 years, in my opinion, has no business being a city commissioner. Many will compare this project to the football stadium. This is like comparing apples to motor oil. We're talking about a stadium used 4 months out of the year to a building used to staff the men and women sworn to protect this city 24/7, 365 days a year. So I say again, there is no comparison. If you truly do listen to the voice of the people, then the clear answer here is to vote for new. The people have spoken. It's time to do what you guys are put there to do. Regardless if a vote passes by 1 vote or 2 million, it still passes. Certain commissioners have stated they intend to build a new fire station once the money has been collected. Fact is that construction costs go up 5 to 10% every year. That's not a number I made up. That's from Crossland Construction. You can call and talk to them. Their office is in Columbus. What you could build today will cost twice as much in 10 years. So, in closing, the men and women that this building will house risk their lives on a day-in, day-out basis. Maybe it's time you guys take a little risk and give back to not only the community, but to the people who help protect it. I leave you this evening from a quote from President Harry S. Truman. Men make history and not the other way around. In periods where there is no leadership, society stands still. Progress occurs when courageous, skillful leaders seize the opportunity to change things for the better. Let's make Coffeyville a better place. Respectfully, Mike O'Connor. Thank you.
Mr. Moody.
Yes, sir.
In your plan, the blue ribbon plan, whatever you want to call it, was there a sally port in
Yes.
your design?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the.
I couldn't figure it
I
out.
took my stuff out. If I
You're
flip
a-
over, I'll show you.
All right. I don't want to take too long. Got a guy over here waiting.
Yeah, it's in here. I said it might not be showed as a sally port, but yes, the sally port was figured.
So there was a sally port?
Yes, there is a
Okay.
sally port figured into it. That plan right there. And that's a real hard proof, but that's the sally port and fire station.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, Commissioners, my name is Jason Castle. I'm a member of the Coffeyville Police Department. More importantly, I'm a resident of the city of Coffeyville. I don't have any inspirational quotes, anything like that. Just some feelings that we as police officers have regarding this issue. Obviously, in November 2012, we voted to improve these several buildings here in town. The library, the Boys and Girls Club, Perkins Building, City Hall, Police and Fire. Other projects are also going on. The electric generation plant. Several street projects are also on a continual basis every year getting improved. All these projects are either completed or in the works. What we're wanting to talk to you about is what does a new building for the city of Coffeyville provide. It provides a showpiece. Most cities would show this building off, put it up on 11th Street, show that we care about our town, that we care about our law enforcement and other first responders. It would show that as a commissioner, you believe that the city could grow and has prospects that continuing enterprises coming in that would allow for this to happen. Improve employee morale. This is an issue that, since our relocation, has taken a great hit. A new police station would also allow for further department growth. Down there at City Hall, it's 4 pre-made walls. It's only so big. That's it. That's all you get. Can't add on to it, anything like that. A new building would provide a safe, up-to-date, adequately sized, properly equipped facility for your first responders to work out of. Problems with the remodel. As far as remodeling City Hall, size. Number one issue, size. No room for growth, not enough room for today's law enforcement environment. We're talking about this new plan that surfaced tonight of putting City Hall, or putting us back in City Hall, along with moving utilities to the first floor. Gentlemen, that is unacceptable. We were moved because of lack of space, because inadequate conditions. Some of the things that were not spoken about on that deal was the square footage. That's the square footage of the building. That doesn't count stairwells. About 25 of them randomly spread across the whole building. It is tough to build a functional office space, interview room. Our training room has a pole right in the middle of it. That's completely unacceptable. The major complaint from officers over the past years was the size and the maze-like layout. Public access into the building. There's a door on each side. That's like Chief Bromley brought up earlier. That's just asking for people to get involved with stuff that they've got no need to get into. Also, you're just putting new insides in an 80-year-old building. That's not promising. That's not functional. It's just that building's only going to last so long. So what happens when our new building, our new insides, are just stuck in that old building? Noise, they touched on it briefly. Right above the old jail was the utilities room. Right across the hall from that was the city manager's room. Kind of hard to conduct meetings when you got prisoners down there jumping, banging, yelling. Not all prisoners just go sit in jail. They bang on the doors. They shout obscenities, racial slurs. It happens. They've called down numerous times and asked us to do something. What can we do? We attend these meetings. We watch these meetings. And we watch work being taken place, action being taken on all these projects. You know, we got Several things in the works now. The generation plant, man, they need something voted on, done. Somebody else needs something voted on, done. Why is the building that houses your city emergency services continuing to get held up? The citizens have stated that they wanted it twice. Most of you have seen the conditions at the police and fire. If you're curious about them, stop a fireman, stop a policeman, we'll tell you about them. We're curious as to why this issue is continually voted on. When the commissioner I voted for did not get elected, I did not get to re-bring the issue up. Why is this issue constantly being reworded, and no action's been taken on it? None. I'm on the building committee for the police department. We've trimmed it down to the barest of bare necessities. We want a building that will provide growth. We want an appealing building. We want a building that is comparison to our needs. The last meeting, and this is something that keeps getting brought up even in the presentation tonight, was the budget's being set at 0% growth rate. That's what the budget's set at. And there's this $3 million that keeps surfacing. You know, one group doesn't want to repay it, one group thinks it needs paid. Show a little faith, gentlemen, that Coffeyville's going to come back and grow. Give us a percentage of growth. Give us that budget. Show us that you believe that Coffeyville can come back and grow, and that can take care of that money, and then everybody's happy about all the money covered, and your employees can get the facilities that we deserve. A little bit about the police department this last year since we've been moved. We were moved in July of 2014. That means we were moved from our police department over to the hospital. That's came at a cost, and a cost that's going to continue to accrue with no decisions being made. No decisions have been made up to date. That's $20,000 that we've had to pay to house us elsewhere, and still no decision been made. Everybody on this commission is worried about money, 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 money. Where's it come from? Where's it go? What's it going to? There is $20,000. Now, I know that's not great sums compared to what the rest of the city finances are, but it's still $20,000 that's got nothing to show for it other than we were housed temporarily for a year with no other decisions. The officers of the Coffeyville Police Department, in the last 6 months, we have worked over 2,500 hours of overtime for this city, for this community. We're understaffed, overworked. We think we deserve something nice. I think we deserve a nice facility to work out of. I think this city deserves this. That's 2,500 hours away from our loved ones and family. I'll leave you guys with this. We're not asking for the Taj Mahal, as it's been called in the past. We are asking for a building that is appealing, safe, up-to-date, adequately sized, and properly equipped. A building that will allow us to best serve and protect our community. We're not asking for you guys to go out and hire 50 more officers. We're asking that you provide an adequate number of officers and the proper training so that way we can protect and serve this community. These are just a few items that we wanted our voices heard on before any final decisions were made. Please show us that our voices as employees and citizens will be heard. Show us that you appreciate us and the jobs that we do as we protect and serve our community. Show a little faith in your staff, and that Coffeyville will continue to grow and become a nice, prosperous community again. And again, like Mr. O'Connor said, If you do not believe in Coffeyville, if you do not believe Coffeyville will grow and turn around our ill-gotten image and become a nice, family-oriented community again, then why are you on our city commission? Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Lori Songer. I live at 1320 West 3rd in Coffeyville.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name again.
Lori Songer. We was sent out the cards to see if we wanted to remodel City Hall or if we wanted to build a standalone fire department, police department. Coffeyville got together, we voted. You know, we won the vote to get this new building for our men and women that protect us every day. I don't know all of the facts from what the police department needs, what the fire department needs. I don't know all that. But I do know that they deserve a place. One, to sleep so he doesn't get wet. Two, that we have places to put the people that they are arresting or they're trying to protect our community. We need to have a decision made. I listened to our city manager tonight. I've been listening to the city commission meetings on the TV for several months. We are not getting anywhere. This concerns me because I raised my family here. We have lots of things that, companies have left, companies have came. Our children are growing up, they're moving away, there's nothing here for them. Our city manager told us tonight that it's going to cost $5 million to build a building. To remodel City Hall, didn't you say about $5 million?
Remodeling in $3 million.
Okay, $3 million. I believe that our people that are protecting us, our first responders, deserve to have the best. Some of you know who I am. I've been in this community 35 years. I voted for some of you. And I feel like the city commission is letting down the city of Coffeyville because we're not going anywhere. We're just sitting here. How long have we been talking about the same thing over and over and over? I'm not a public speaker. I'm a little nervous. I'm a nurse. I don't do this. So my plea for you guys is to make a decision what we're going to do with our people. We can't have somebody getting their head wet because they're going to bed at night and it's raining. We can't have our police department in the snack bar and having to transport people to Independence. What are we going to do? We need to decide.